The healthcare system is a giant scam. Here's a question for you. What price would you put on a human life? Well, according to the US, it's $7,000. That's the average yearly cost for health insurance. The US spends more on healthcare than any other country. Yet, US ranks last in quality of care amongst wealthy nations and still charges its citizens for treatment. It's a system run entirely by profit that overcharges patients by billions each year, and we're the size changer depending on who is profiting from it. Hello and welcome back to Finance Insights. Today, we'll discuss some of the little-known dark facts about the US healthcare system. So without further ado, let's get started. In the US, medical personnel are treated as celebrities, not professionals, where people like Anthony Fauci are seen as saviors to some and are cursed as villains by others. So why is the system so broken? Of course, it's got everything to do with money, and how a handful of companies have turned healthcare into a $1 trillion scam that only values profit instead of human lives. To almost all foreigners, the US healthcare system likes a complete dumpster fire. Yet, to a lot of Americans this seems normal, and to some, even kind of a great, but in reality, this is far from normal. So firstly, we want to share some stats that will illustrate just how bad the situation in the US really is. In Canada, a vial of insulin costs around $30, but in the United States, the same medication made in the same factory costs 10 times as much. In Australia, the HIV drug Truvada costs $8 in the US, while it's $2,000. With such high costs, health insurance in the US is considered almost essential. But even when insured, many Americans still have trouble paying their medical bills, 63% using up most or all their savings to pay for treatment, and over 40% had to get a second job just to cover the costs. The high cost of healthcare is such a massive problem. It's estimated that 2/3 of all personal bankruptcy in the US are tied to medical expenses, which amounts to over 500,000 families going bankrupt each year. But this isn't normal in the rest of the world. As of today, the US is the only developed country on earth without universal healthcare, and even in the developing world, many poorer countries already provide free healthcare to the citizens. Some examples include Iran, Botswana, Cuba, Rwanda, and Pakistan. So why is the US still so resistant to something that so many people consider a basic human right? As you might expect, it has everything to do with manipulation by big businesses. It's health insurers who were the first players in this big healthcare scam of America. Insurance then covered almost all of. Let me tell you something even more interesting. Insurance companies bargain discounts with hospitals on the medical bills of insured patients. But here's the thing. The discount insurance company negotiated is a scam created in the partnerships with hospitals to make you believe that expensive healthcare is a good deal. One of the main selling points of US health insurance is that insurance companies are great at negotiating prices with hospitals, potentially saving patients thousands on their bills. Until recently, it was a very closely guarded secret what someone with insurance would bill for a certain service compared to someone without it. In short, everyone just had to take insurance companies on their word. But in 2020, the federal government ordered hospitals to release the price list of services they negotiated with insurers. Immediately, it was obvious why they didn't want this information to be public. At one hospital, a colonoscopy for a person without insurance cost $782, but with insurance, it cost over $2,000, almost 3 times the price. At the University of Pennsylvania Hospital, a pregnancy test without insurance cost only $10, but if you are insured, that same test costs almost 10 times more. So insured patients are getting prices that are higher than they would if they are pretended to have no coverage at all. The only reason that the discount looks so high that they have negotiated with hospitals is because they have a higher listed price in the first place, conning Americans into believing that they are getting a valuable service. Now, it is possible to negotiate these medical bills by yourself. However, this is another place where price manipulation happens, so that the industry can ensure only insurer companies can play the game fairly. In one example, an uninsured man was billed for over $31,000 for around an hour of treatment. He wanted to negotiate a discount, but because he wasn't insured, he had to do this by himself. But even though insurance companies regularly receive an 80% discount for treatment at the same hospital, they refused to give him the same discount, offering him a maximum discount of only 43%. The reason, according to one doctor, was because the patient didn't have representation. In reality, this is the main benefit of being insured in the US, so that a hospital will agree to give you the lowest rate on care because you're a member of the insurance company's club. If you don't buy health insurance, hospitals have agreed to penalize you by putting a surcharge of several $100% on your medical bill. And due to the fact that there are almost no laws requiring responsible pricing in healthcare, hospitals can effectively legally extort money from patients with these penalties. Basically, hospitals and insurance companies act like a mafia protection racket. And if you don't pay up the insurance companies for protection, you risk being bankrupted or having your life ruined by huge medical bills. Aside from insurance, the price that Americans pay for healthcare is manipulated in many different areas, and a lot of this happens in what you would assume is basically essential healthcare. For example, childbirth and emergency visits. In the US, roughly 10,000 babies are born every day, and about a third of them by C-section. This rate of C-section births is more than twice the global average, which is generally between 10 to 15%. So why is this so high? Well, according to reports, this has nothing to do with the well-being of the mother and the child. It's because hospitals get paid $5,000 on average more for performing a C-section compared to the natural birth. Doctors are incentivized to slice women up, even when it's unnecessary. And if you want to hold your baby after that C-section, the hospital may bill you for that as well, adding $40 to put your tab for skin-to-skin contact. This overcharging exists in almost every area of the medical system. Even in life-threatening emergency visits in the US, visits are coded by severity and given a number between 1 and 5. The higher the level, the more a hospital gets paid. Over the past 2 decades, hospitals and doctors have learned there's a great profit in upcoding visits, and over a 7-year period, level 5 visits for injured people grew steadily by 45%, putting more money in the pockets of hospitals. Now let's look at the real culprits behind this profit mongering. Unlike rest of the world, the entire US healthcare system is for profit, meaning it exists to make money, not to serve people's need. Blackstone is one of the largest investment firms on the planet. In the US, it owns Team Health, the nation's largest medical staffing company. Team Health is known for massively overcharging customers with pricing higher than 95% of other providers and 9 times more than Medicare. The actual cost of treatment isn't a factor in how the company sets its prices, meaning Team Health can charge whatever they want for care, resulting in billions flowing back to Blackstone and the company's rich investors. Almost every publicly traded hospitals, medical, and pharma companies own at least in part by one of the 2 companies. The names are BlackRock and Vanguard, companies you will likely heard of before. Together, they are amongst the largest shareholders of the entire US healthcare system. Effectively, these companies have almost complete control over the entire US healthcare system. It's really hard to imagine that these for-profit investment firms aren't abusing the system for their own financial gain, and whenever there is abuse, there's always a victim. As always, it's usually the poorest people in society that suffer the most. Hopefully by now you will see who is responsible for this situation of the US medical system. We'll love to hear your thoughts on how this compares to the medical system in your own country. And if you're American, we'll love to know your thoughts on what is going on at home. So that's all in today's video, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you would never miss an update. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, check out our channel for some amazing and enlightening content.